How's it going, guys? Welcome to Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. In today's video, I've got 3 topics to cover. EA has broken yet another game for a completely different reason, and it absolutely sucks. Second on the list, we're going to talk about 2 new docks. One of them is very cheap, and one of them is very cool. And third, I, the resident survival horror fan here in the Steam Deck YouTuber world, am going to give you a new game recommendation that you probably won't hear on any of the other channels. Before I jump into the video, just want to do the typical YouTuber thing and ask you to subscribe. It's still at like around 80% of the people who don't watch this channel are not subscribed things. So if you do watch this channel, it would really help me out if you subscribed. I am about to be at 50K. I noticed people were saying it's a little presumptive to ask for 100K. I don't think it is. There's other Steam Deck channels out there with 100K, and I think mine's pretty good. So I would like to get to 100,000 subs and get the silver play button. So help me out with that goal by subscribing and setting your notifications to all. Okay, let's get into this first news story here where I get to talk smack on EA. I can't swear in the first 15% of the video, but you know what word I was going to say. So EA has been in the Steam Deck news a lot lately because of their launcher. It doesn't really work ever. It's annoying to install. Every time they update it, it breaks pretty much every game, and that would be bad on its own, but when you take that into account with the fact that they don't really have a lot of games that really need a launcher outside of something like Battlefield, it doesn't really serve any purpose other than to add extra DRM that is unnecessary in the first place, because Steam provides excellent DRM on top of the fact that you can buy games on the store. Like, you don't need 2 layers of DRM. But as always, EA just ignores us. They're totally fine with the status quo on the Steam Deck being that their games are inferior to consoles, which really sucks. I mean, even if you just get down to the granular level of games, I mean, NCAA isn't even on the Steam Deck, which sucks. I have to play it on PS5. I would love to play a game like that on the go, because a football game is technically like a turn-based combat game, so you don't really need high frame rate or anything like that. It would be perfect for the Steam Deck. They don't even have an NBA game. Their golf game is an abysmal mess. So like, yeah, EA, their newer games are just a mess on the Steam Deck all around, and now they're making it even worse by adding in anti-cheat to a game that arguably does not need it, which is WRC 2023. If you don't know what this game is, essentially EA last year bought Codemasters, the people behind Dirt Rally 2.0, Grid 2019, Grid Legends, not MotorStorm, Onrush. It's from the developers of MotorStorm. They're a really storied racing game creator, and I've been a fan of them my entire life. They're a really good developer. The Dirt series is amazing. I love playing Dirt Rally 2.0. I was a little skeptical though when they got rid of the Dirt brand and switched over to WRC. It makes sense because EA likes to buy licenses to the sports that they use in their games. So like the golf game, I think is called like EA PGA 2022 The Masters, because they got the rights to the Masters. So when they make a new Dirt game, they're not going to use the Dirt brand because Dirt 5 sold so poorly, and they're going to use the WRC license. When the game came out, I'm going to be real, it was in pretty rough shape, but now after patches on patches on patches, it's actually in a good state. And then they've gone ahead and added an anti-cheat to the game, which, you know, usually when anti-cheat gets added, there's a bunch of tricks you can do, like taking anti-cheat from another game, dragging it into the folder, or waiting for Valve to kind of update the anti-cheat for that game on their own. But EA this time around has taken things one step further, and they've completely removed support for the Steam Deck from this game. Now, to be fair to them, I guess it was listed as unsupported for the longest time, but it still worked on the Steam Deck, so it was never really technically supported. But we all know that Valve's system of playable, verified, and unsupported needs a complete overhaul from top to bottom, because there are plenty of verified games that run like absolute dog shit on the Steam Deck, and there are plenty, like this one, of unsupported games that work just fine. Like, the criteria they use to separate games into these 3 different categories, it is not good. But yeah, EA on their list of supported consoles and PCs removed the Steam Deck, so it looks like this game is just officially broken. Like, they even released a statement that said, yeah, because of the anti-cheat, this game is no longer supported on the Steam Deck, which really freaking sucks, because, you know, there's options, right? Like Ghost of Tsushima, the Legends mode doesn't work on Steam Deck because of Sony's stupidity in adding in the PSN without actually making it work on Linux, but you can still boot up the game and play the full single player mode without even connecting to an online service in the first place, so that game remains completely playable on the Steam Deck. Whereas with WRC, it just completely breaks support because the anti-cheat runs right when you start up the game, not just when you go into multiplayer. And it's extra crazy because this game just doesn't need it, right? Like, I can't imagine what cheats would even matter in this game. Most of the time in Rally, you're racing against yourself. You're trying to get the best time anyway that you've ever gotten. So like the online, yeah, while it could be annoying to get into a match with someone who has, I don't know, a perfect steering cheat or something like that, I literally don't know why it would even be advantageous for cheat makers to make cheats for this game in the first place, because on PC at least the player base is very tiny. I don't think it's ever gone over maximum like 10,000 players, and if you look at it any time of the day, any day of the week, even at peak times, it's generally less than 1,000 people playing. So adding in this anti-cheat just seems like another form of DRM to stop people who pirated the game from playing it or something. I don't know, but it really sucks. I think it's really getting to the point, or it's actually like well past the point where Valve needs to do something about this. I don't want them to like make a hard set rule or anything, because they'll never do that. But like if they could just send someone like Lawrence Yang, maybe he's a great talker, he's great on Twitter, send him over to EA, send him over to Activision, send him to publishers, and have him tell them that the Steam DRM is good enough and we don't need things like anti-cheat in games like WRC, and we don't need a launcher that has to run, which stops you from playing games when you're offline. Like that is demonstrably making the experience of playing games on the Steam Deck worse. So that's why I think Valve really has a vested interest here to go out and try and do something about it. I think the biggest reason they're not really doing anything about it is because of what happened, I think like over 10 years ago at this point, where because of the pricing situation, where if you sold a game on Steam as a third party, you'd lose 30% of the revenue from that purchase because Valve takes a cut. All these publishers like EA and Ubisoft removed all of their games from Steam, and you could no longer buy them. If you already own them, you could play them. Like I owned Crysis and Crysis 2, which were published by EA at the time, and I was still able to play them, but you could never buy them again until EA relented and said, look, no one's using this Origin app that we threw together in 15 minutes. So they added all their games back to Steam, but they kept that app as the login needed to play the games, and it's just completely unnecessary. The same goes for Ubisoft. A game like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown has virtually no need to have a launcher that needs to run before you can play the game. I don't want to hate on Ubisoft too hard because I want to encourage their recent behavior, because if you didn't hear, Prince of Persia, or the Rogue Prince of Persia, the one from Motion Twin, I think is what they're called, the Dead Cells developers, that game does not require the Ubisoft launcher to actually start. So hopefully they see more people actually trying that game out and engaging with it and go, oh, we don't need to have a launcher in every game that we launch on Steam. And the icing on the cake here is it's very similar to the situation with Helldivers 2, where Sony released the game, sold it worldwide, and then 3 months later added in the PSN requirement. They didn't actually end up doing it, but they announced that they were going to. And if that had happened, it would break support for the game in a lot of countries they sold the game in, which in my opinion is just unforgivable. And now with WRC, even though it's been on sale for like over 6 months at this point, EA is doing pretty much the exact same thing. They're saying, hey, sorry if you bought it on Steam Deck. I'm sure it's a much smaller audience, obviously, than what we had with Helldivers 2, but still, they're saying, hey, if you bought it on the Steam Deck, sorry, tough luck. Go buy a better gaming PC that has Windows on it, or dual boot Windows, or buy an ROG Ally X if you want to play this game. Like that really just straight up sucks. I get it to some extent if they added it. I get it to some extent if they have it at launch, but yeah, adding it in after launch, like 6 months, it's just a needlessly stupid move on EA's part, and I think they should do something about it, or at least Valve should try to talk to them. But yeah, not a great situation for the 5 rally fans out there like me. I have this game on PC, so I use it with a racing wheel a lot. I have it on my PS5, so I have other places to play it, but I like playing rally games when I'm like winding down at the end of the day, so I guess I'll just go back to Dirt Rally 2.0. Next up here, let's talk about a couple of new docks that are available for the Steam Deck. I haven't done this in a while because, you know, after JSOX released like 400 different docks, they all kind of ended up feeling the same, but JSOX is back with a really cool 6-in-1 dock that will work on your Steam Deck, but it also doubles as a straight up USB-C dock attachment for your PC. So if you look at it, it's modular, which is really cool. The actual dock is like an obelisk style rectangle with a little USB-C cord that thankfully has an L-shaped adapter. JSOX is always good about that, but it also comes with a stand for itself that when you clip it in, it actually creates a stand for your Steam Deck. So you could leave it in front of your PC if you're someone like me who uses a laptop. I have a monitor, sound bar, a keyboard, a mouse, audio interface, all that plugged into a Razer USB-C hub, and then when I sit down and I put in my gaming laptop on the desk, I just plug in one USB-C cord, and I can do the same thing with my Steam Deck. It works great. This would be a cool experience for that because you could leave the dock for your PC and take it out of the stand, but then when you want to use your Steam Deck, you could just put it in the little stand and then connect it to the PC and have it used as an extra screen right in front of your face, which I think is great. And the best part is JSOX prices are not bad at all. This thing is only $45, and every time I say only and it's like $40 to $60, people go, whoa, that's way too expensive. But if you look at the price range of all the docks, and especially compare it to the price of the Steam Deck official dock, which is $100 and doesn't even work right half the time, I think 45 bucks is actually a fair deal. I think I'm going to pick one of these up because it has versatility for both the Steam Deck and the Ally X. The Ally X is my Windows gaming machine, so basically Forza Horizon 4 and 5 and Helldivers 2 because it runs a lot better on that than the Steam Deck. But yeah, it'd be cool if I ever wanted to dock it to have a dock that will work with both my Steam Deck and the Ally X. The little plastic stand that someone sent me when the Steam Deck came out, it works great for the Steam Deck, but the ROG Ally X has like too thick of a back now, so it's like it doesn't fit in the little stand. So yeah, 45 bucks for this new dock, 6-in-1. It can support up to 4K 120 hertz output. I've never had a problem with any of their products. I have no problem endorsing it. So yeah, if you are looking for a dock that can turn into a stand for your Steam Deck, they've got you covered. And this is not sponsored in any way. I don't make any money selling these docks. I'm just pointing it out because I think it's cool, okay? Speaking of docks that I don't get money from, if you guys end up picking them up, I just want to point that out again. Anker has shown up to the table with their own PC dock for portable handhelds, which includes the Steam Deck, obviously, and it looks like very comparable and competitive to what you'd get from JSOX. It's a 6-in-1 option. Unfortunately, the USB-C port does not support pass-through, so you'll have to use HDMI. It doesn't have a display input either, which is kind of a bummer, but it's the cheapest one I've seen at around $40. If you're comparing this to the JSOX one I just talked about, I'd spend the extra $5 to get the JSOX one because it also doubles as a Steam Deck stand. Well, this one really does too, but the way the JSOX one does it provides back support for the Steam Deck, and I just think it's cool that the JSOX one is modular, so you can use it as a regular old USB-C hub without, you know, having a Steam Deck stand off to the side. My wife actually uses one of my JSOX docks with her Cricket, and it looks goofy as hell. I'm just gonna be real. She plugs it into her little tiny pink MacBook, and then she plugs in the USB from the Cricket, and it's one of those RGB docks, and it's funny watching her make t-shirts with this Cricket that's using this light up Steam Deck dock. So if she wanted to look a little more normal, she could borrow my JSOX stand dock because again, it is modular. Anyway, that brings us to the third news story, which is a survival horror game that I think you're going to want to check out because it's already Steam Deck verified on launch day, and I tested it out and it runs great. The game is called Conscript. I've had my eye on this game for a while. There's actually been a demo available for quite some time. I think it was a Next Fest game, but essentially the easiest way to describe it, and I hate when YouTubers do this, but I have to do it, is like if you took Resident Evil 1, you know, the top-down, older style Resident Evil with tank controls, and then mixed it with a World War I setting. And you're gonna fight monsters in this game, which is cool, but the main enemy that you're going up against is actually German soldiers. They make monster noises when you're fighting them that kind of makes them feel otherworldly, but this game, it's not only scary, but it's kind of depressing. Because when you fight the enemy soldiers and you end up killing them, you find a picture of their loved ones on them like 9 times out of 10, and it makes you realize that that's just another person fighting this war that they probably don't care about. So that adds like this depressing overtone, which throws in a sort of Silent Hill sort of flavor. I also like how many guns there are in the game. There's like a ton of different ones. They all have full upgrade trees. It's very Resident Evil inspired, like I said. So like the whole point of solving puzzles is generally to find keys to open doors. And when you open up doors, they can get you into different rooms and earlier levels. So you can find more currency, you can find better items, you can find weapon upgrades. They've brought back the whole thing where if you find a specific number of like one item throughout the entire game, you can get the true ending, kind of like how you save Chris or Jill in the original Resident Evil. So it's very Resident Evil inspired, but it feels really good to play on the Steam Deck. My favorite place to play this game at night lately, well, it's only been out a day. So yesterday I did this. I have a bonfire pit in my backyard. So with the Steam Deck OLED and its improved battery life, so I was able to kick back with a glass of whiskey, play in the dark with the only light coming being from the fire. I could listen to the animals around me. It was a great setting for a survival horror game, which, you know, is a big reason why the Steam Deck is my favorite place to play any survival horror game that will run on it. And thankfully, this is no exception. It's also pretty cheap. They have a deluxe edition that comes with different skins and weapon skins and different weapons and everything like that. It's like $22 versus the regular $19.99 price. So yeah, between this and Crow Country, indie survival horror has been great this year. If you're looking for a spooky game to play, can't recommend Conscript enough. Definitely check it out. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.